Facebook. Good morning, good morning. How are you all out there? Hope you are doing well. So today, what are we talking about today? Well, an interesting one, because over the last week or so, we've had a load of new recruits come on board and they've been coming into our trading room, and every time we take on a group of new traders or new students into our Total Trader program, what happens is they're coming in with different levels of experience. Some of them have literally never traded before. They've only really done a little bit on charts and they've understood the basics of our processes. Whereas we have other guys, and one example, one of the guys that's come into our Total Trader program, he's had 14 years of being out there trying to trade on his own, making loads of different mistakes and doing all sorts of different things. But this is a really interesting one. So often when our new recruits come in, what happens is they're very, very keen to get to the strategies, depending on whether or not they're trading swing or day. It doesn't really matter which ones they're trading, because they already go through a bespoke process. So every new student comes through, goes through a questionnaire, we look at their goals, we look at what they want to achieve, we look at the time they have available, and then essentially what we do is we say, right, you're going to start with your first focus being swing trading, or your first focus being day trading. And they're like, right, great. So what they do is they make a beeline for the strategies that are specific to that type of trading. Because there's this common thought process, especially amongst guys and girls who are very new to trading, which is, right, all I need to do is essentially the cookie cutter approach. So all I need to do is learn the strategy, follow the strategy, and then I'm going to make money. And whilst there's an element of truth to that, there's so much more that goes on within your overall trading approach. So along with that assessment, we're also looking at what that person's psychology is, how they think, have they traded before? If they've traded before, what different mistakes can they make? What mistakes have they made? Because what we want to do is we want to make sure we go in with a rounded approach. So for me, I don't care initially which strategy either somebody is going to trade out of the list of strategies we have, or if they're bringing a strategy of their own, I don't actually care too much about that strategy. What I care about, more importantly, is the overall approach that that person has, because trading is more than just the strategy that you put in place. It's your overall methodology. And the reason why that is so important is you can have a strategy that works for one person but doesn't work for another. You can have a strategy that works on paper, but due to that person's experience level, they may not be able to deal with the level of drawdowns that that strategy has. So you can have a very, very good strategy, but the way that strategy works, where it might be a high level of profit, so you might have a huge amount of profit that comes in over 3 months, but then you have a dip. But the profit highs and the profit lows, the drawdowns are bigger, the overall profitability after a year is greater, but a new trader can't necessarily handle that. A trader may be able to handle swing trading in terms of the trade frequency, but then when they start day trading, the speed at which the trades come at makes it harder or takes them longer to be able to get used to it. So the actual strategy itself needs to fit in with that trader's overall approach. And the actual strategy criteria, a lot of people get hung up on the criteria. And this is exactly what happened this week. So we had one of our new recruits, Laszlo, come into the trading room. And this guy, as I said, had been trading before. He'd been trying and failing, trying and failing, trying and failing. And what we had highlighted before he came in and joined us was a lot of what he needed to do was work on the mindset and have an accountability so that he stuck to his trading rules. Now, he looked at some of our strategies, went away, and straight away, within a week, he adapted one of our strategies and started testing it. Because one of the first things I get all our new recruits to do on the Total Trader program is I get them using our spreadsheet and get them understanding data so that they record all their live trades and they can go out and backtest their trades. But this is what was interesting. He submitted about 6 months worth of backtesting data, which was a brilliant start. But he also came in and showed me, and he got a printout of the strategy criteria, and he sent me this through so I could see what the criteria were, and he'd sent me through a long example and a short example, which was brilliant. And then I said, right, okay, what I want you to do is keep testing that and get about a year's worth of data before we review it any further. And his next question to me was, do you want to go through and examine the strategy criteria? And my initial answer was, no, I'm not bothered. And there was a pause, and he was a little bit shocked. He's like, are you sure? You sure you don't want to look at it any further? I'm like, no, because especially when you've got a set of criteria, I'm not actually that bothered what they are. And I think there's this preconception that because I've been trading for so long, I'm going to assess whether or not you're using moving averages or fibs, or you're using a certain entry over another. And actually, short term, I really don't care about what the criteria are. I'm not going to come in and say, well, I don't think you should be using moving averages for your pullback trade. I think you should be using fibs. That's not what I'm going to do. The thing that I did ask him though, as I said, I want to know, is that criteria repeatable? And when you're testing it, are you being strict that you are only recording the setups that meet that criteria? And that's essentially what I said to him. So there are two key things that I want to know. Number one, with those criteria, are you able to repeat them? And on each trade, are you being disciplined? So as long as you're doing that, what I care more about, and this is the key lesson to take away today, what I care more about is not what type of criteria you're using, but as I said, is it repeatable? But have you got a decent enough data sample that gives you the confidence to be able to trade that going forward? So have you got a big enough data sample to be able to see the ups and downs of the strategy, the positive winning runs, the losing runs, and have you got enough of a data sample across enough markets? And then lastly, does the strategy have the capacity on previous tests or forward tests, because you might choose to forward test it for 3 months, does it have the capacity to get to the goal you want? Because there are a lot of times that I see traders that can deliver on a strategy and they're frustrated because they've set themselves a goal of 5% return in a month. And they're delivering on the strategy, but during that period of time, the strategy's hitting 2% a month. So they're doing everything right, but they're frustrated because they're not achieving the goal that they set. And then what they end up doing is getting frustrated and breaking their rules and then getting in even more of a worse position. But actually, they haven't looked at the strategy and said, well, actually, I'm trading the strategy at capacity and doing everything right. It's just not delivering to the goal I want. So what I'm more concerned about, and I push this over and over again, is not what the criteria are. Are they repeatable? When you're testing, are you staying strict to that criteria? And then lastly, have you got enough data to give you the confidence to be able to trade that strategy going forward? Good. Quick one today. Hope that was useful. I'll be back again next week with another video. So trade safe, and I'll catch up with you again very soon.